Why we recite Amida's name. Why we take refuge only in Amida Buddha, and recite his name. We know that his name is easy to remember, and easy to recite, but is it really effective? How is it possible that, by simply entrusting ourselves, completely, to the power of Amida's primal vow, we are permanently saved from the vicious cycle of birth, suffering and death? These questions, and more, normally plagued our minds when we first start saying Amida's name, Nembutsu. However, if we persist in listening deeply to the Buddha Dharma in general, and Amida Dharma in particular, all our doubts would surely be cleared, sooner or later. We would then be able to accept the simple faith, Shinran, freely offered to us by the Buddha. We would also come to realize that we are actually lowly gifted spiritual idiots, incapable of any difficult practices, and that the Nembutsu is really the only option for us. Namo Amida Butsu. Amida's primal vow, which had been perfectly fulfilled 10 kalpas ago, seeks to get us permanently out of samsara, and to become Buddhas at the end of this life. Due to the inconceivable power of the primal vow, all persons without exception are equally saved, whether we are monks, or lay disciples, men or women, good or evil persons, young or old, and living in any circumstance or social status. As mentioned before, this marvelous vow arises from the Buddha's great compassion for all beings in pain and suffering, who are unable to free themselves from samsara by their own efforts. Amida Buddha's universal pledge to save all of us states, if, when I attain Buddhahood, sentient beings of the 10 quarters, with sincere mind, joyfully entrusting themselves, aspiring to be born in my land, and saying my name perhaps even 10 times, should not be born there, may I not attain the supreme enlightenment. Excluded are those who commit the 5 grave offenses, and those who slander the right Dharma. Thus, saying Amida Buddha's name, Nembutsu, with an entrusting mind, Shinran, that places total reliance on the fulfillment of the primal vow, is the wonderful essence of the true Pure Land way. It is our absolute assurance of birth in the Pure Land, at the end of this mortal life. For Amida vowed to take into perfect bliss those who say the name, and, thus to entrust oneself deeply, and, to say the name, is to be in perfect accord with the primal vow. Though a person may have Shinran, if he does not say the name, it is of no avail. And conversely, even though he fervently says the name, if his Shinran is shallow, he cannot attain birth. Thus, it is the person who both deeply entrusts himself to birth through the Nembutsu, and undertakes to say the name, who is certain to be born in the true Buddha land. As the Nembutsu comes from Amida Buddha's vow mind, it breaks through the ignorance of all sentient beings, and fulfills all their aspirations. It actualizes the Buddha's compassionate practice of benefiting miserable beings like us. Therefore, saying Amida's name is not our self-power practice, or good act that we perform in our struggle to attain enlightenment. We should also be aware that, through the fulfillment of Amida's 17th vow, all the Buddhas throughout the 10 directions have fully endorsed the Nembutsu as the universal means most effective for securing our births in the land of enlightenment. The vow that all the Buddhas say the name is stated in the larger Sutra. If, when I attain Buddhahood, the countless Buddhas throughout the worlds, in the 10 quarters, do not all praise and say my name, may I not attain the supreme enlightenment. The sutra passage, declaring the fulfillment of this vow, states, The Buddha Tathagatas throughout the 10 quarters, countless as the sands of the Ganges, are one in praising the majestic power, and the virtues, inconceivably profound, of the Buddha of immeasurable life. Saying Namo Amida Butsu, for persons with settled and trusting faith, Shinran, is their affirmation that they have been saved solely by Amida Buddha's vow of great compassion. They know, without any doubt, that the power of the Buddha's primal vow is such that those who hear the name and aspire for birth all reach the Pure Land. Thus, they say the Nembutsu with gratitude, awakened to the fact that they have naturally attained the stage of non-retrogression, here and now, in this mortal life of pain and suffering. Further, only those who single-mindedly recite Amida's name are instantly grasped and not forsaken by Amida Buddha. Therefore, Master Shinran tells us why only persons who exclusively recite the Buddha's name are illumined by his inconceivable light of boundless compassion. There are sentient beings who solely think on Amida Buddha, and only these people are constantly illumined by the light of that Buddha's heart, grasped and protected, never to be abandoned. It is not at all stated that any practicers of various other acts are illumined and embraced. Thus, being protected in the present life is a manifestation of the decisive cause of birth in the Pure Land. The 6-character name, a phonetic transliteration from the original Sanskrit text, has the following wonderful attributes, skillfully employed by Amida Buddha, that would absolutely cause our birth in Sukhavati. Namo refers to the one to be saved, that pathetic person who wants to be freed from the painful existences in samsara. It is also the call of Amida Buddha to that person, commanding him, or her, to single-heartedly take refuge, and fully entrust in the primal vow. Amida Butsu is the Buddha of infinite light and life, the great compassionate Savior, the other power, who saves the one to be saved. Thus, saying Namo Amida Butsu, with an entrusting mind, fully relying on Amida Buddha's compassion, causes the person who wants to be saved, and the Savior to become one, effectively manifesting the saving power of the primal vow. Our salvation is therefore guaranteed the moment we first say the Nembutsu with Shinran. Before we are settled in entrusting faith, Shinran, there was a time when we were erroneously inclined toward performing self-power practices, including saying Amida's name, thinking that, by doing so, we could gain and contribute more merits for our birth in the Pure Land. By relying on such self-centered, meditative, or non-meditative practices, we actually doubt Amida Buddha's mysteriously marvelous, primal vow. Any kind of doubt in the saving power of the primal vow certainly obstructs our birth in Amida's fulfilled land. After we are settled in Shinran, we would single-heartedly say Amida Buddha's name, entrusting ourselves to Amida Buddha and the primal vow, without any concern about the number of repetitions. We say Namo Amida Butsu, whether standing, walking, sitting, or lying down, in times of happiness or sadness, under any circumstance, environment, or state of mind. In response to a question regarding saying Nembutsu before and after receiving Shinran, Master Shinran clearly explained in his Gosho Sokushu. Those who feel uncertain of birth should say the Nembutsu, aspiring first for their own birth. Those who feel that their own birth is completely settled, Shinran, should, mindful of the Buddha's benevolence, hold the Nembutsu in their hearts, and say it, to respond in gratitude to that benevolence. Therefore, saying Namo Amida Butsu is truly a miraculous and easy path for us to take out of samsara. It is completely free of any obstacles. The Buddha's infinite merits and virtues are bestowed equally to all beings. May all accept Amida's gift of Shinran and obtain birth in his land of peace and bliss.